So, good afternoon, all my esteemed panelists. Welcome to a special edition of the Coffee Con Show. Today, we dive into one of the most pressing issues in the entertainment and digital economy, the battle for originals, protecting OTT content in a digital age. As streaming platforms redefine storytelling and global audiences consume content at lightning speed, the shadow of privacy and digital theft looms larger than ever. This isn't just about lost revenue, it's about protecting creativity, respecting intellectual property, and ensuring a sustainable future for original content creators. To unpack these challenges and opportunities, we have with us our esteemed panelists who bring perspectives from law, technology, business, creativity. So I'll introduce my panelists. First one will be Kenneth Sisodia, a legal mind who has been shaping the entertainment and media landscape for over 15 years. Currently serving as Director Legal at Z Entertainment Enterprise, Kenneth specializes in intellectual property, deal structuring, licensing acquisitions, and production related advisory. We have with us our next panelist, Pep Figueredo. With a career spanning over 2 decades, Pep has worn many hats: director, content strategist, Emmy Awards jury member, digital disruptor. From his Sony Live days to industry think tanks, he's transformed how India consumes stories in digital platforms. Next, we have with us Sujoy Mukherjee, uh, a dynamic legal mind with an impressive portfolio in IPR, ADR, and TMT law. With nearly a decade of rich experience, including pivotal roles at Khaitan, RK Dewan, Sujoy has carved niche in intellectual property, arbitration, and media law. And now, previously, when we did Coffee, he was a principal associate at Nayak, and now he started his own chambers practice. So grateful Coffee could contribute to his journey, and happy to know that he's taken next leap into entrepreneurship. We have with us Shubham Sharma, uh, who chose stories over systems. A BITS Pilani graduate turned filmmaker, Shubham's career blends beautifully from machine learning at Amazon to script learning at Disney Star TVF and Amazon Prime Video. So, last not the least, but power packed, Heer Kothari. His journey is anything but linear. As a founder of Panihi Communications, he blends editorial instinct with sharp storytelling, building brands that don't just speak but stay. A firm believer that content isn't filler but fuel. She has championed powerful narratives across luxury, fintech, wellness sectors. So, welcome, friend. This will be one of the most interesting conversations for 2025. The year is ending. So, welcome all our panelists. And we are celebrating Christmas. So, it's to our viewers, Merry Christmas. So, the format will be ye, after the questions, anyone from the panelists can pick up, start, and other panelists can add to the conversations. So, my first question: what does original content mean in the OTT ecosystem, and why is it so valuable today?
Original
Okay, that's
content,
smiling.
or- original content in today's ecosystem can be bifurcated into two parts. In layman's term, it is something that is created and owned by the content creator in terms of how he creates it, whether he commissions it, and then downstreaming it towards earning revenue from it through licensing, distributing. In legal parlance, it is owning intellectual property or having rights to intellectual property with uh, in terms of again, like I would say, licensing that intellectual property, or what the owner of that IPR would want to do with IP would want to do with that content piece, whether they would like to showcase it if they are showcasing it on their own platform, or they would like to license it out to another platform.
I'll add to this from Pep's conversation. While it is original in terms of original ownership of property, yes, that's there. But the common parlance, the way it is looked upon more so is in terms of where the content is being first made available. If it's a if it's a platform specific content, it's not something that has seen the light of the day in theater screens to begin with. For example, technically, even the original content used to exist in the TV space, all your Sasbo sagas to whatnot, all of those were first made for TV, and then now they have trickled over to the internet space. The same thing has now carried forward, and now it's made available that okay, you want to watch something that is exclusively available on a Netflix, on an Amazon, because that was originally created, commissioned, acquired only to be first made available onto a specific internet platform. That's as simple as non-legal side of it that I would want to bring to the table.
So can I just
And,
build off of what
and in
Kenath
legal
actually
parlance,
brought
it would
up?
be owning first window rights.
Right. But, apart from all of those facets that we've just brought up, and all very good, valid points. Now, of course, I come from more of a legal point of view, just like how Kenath is. And, with regards to right now, how the OTT space has become, and a very valid point Kenath brought up is that originally all contents were being developed for, be it your television, films, and everything. But now, as time has gone by, and we've seen so many precedences, so many cases that have always held that, originality always it's the entire expression, but everything always has some existence somewhere or the other. Now, by that what I mean is, to give you a very basic example, the film Sholay that was made, it actually was developed off of a Western film, and I think we all learned that once the Mr. Javed Akhtar and Mr. Salim, their documentary, which was made available on Netflix, we actually got to learn the sources of what was the original content, the idea piece with regard to the coin flip and everything. So to say that, in originality in the OTT space right now, it is all available to pick up and develop and give it a transformative idea and to call that as an original content. But what's also a little bit more important is to identify where each and every source or inspiration is being taken from. It isn't manipulated in such a sense that the ultimate work that does end up getting developed and you're making it available on the OTT spaces, they don't really invite any kind of an action. And that action can result in a lot of hardships, be it for the OTT platform, the creators, the writers themselves. So there's so many factors now to consider it because content is being made so freely available. There's so many platforms now that we can actually sit down and consume those contents in. So I think all the more way to actually have safeguards in place as well when it comes to original content, when that word is being picked up.
I would like to add, if it were not for the OTT, we wouldn't really care about a lot of content from different global pockets. We wouldn't care about cultures. I think with this original content on the OTT space, we've made content more accessible globally. And I think this is something that we miss. So you're saying you have a lot of content across different OTT platforms, great. But what I feel is our outreach with OTT has enhanced the outreach of the content on different platforms.
Shubham sir.
Just to add to that, for me as a writer, I think it's at originality. It's कुछ original लेके आओ ऐसा लोग बोलते हैं. तो it's freshness and the kind of differentiating factor that it can bring for a platform. To me, that is like something that is original.
Wow, beautiful. So let's go to the next one, which is very essential. How has the rise of OTT platforms changed the way we view intellectual property rights in media? And I'm adding one more layer. How effective are India's copyright laws?
Okay, let me start with this. So we are going, like Kirat and Sujoy mentioned, more from a studio-centric licensing
Yeah.
ambience or uh, ecosystem to a more platform-centered ecosystem. So this is exactly what Sujay and Kirat mentioned in the previous question. This is exactly the paradigm shift that's happening right now. And to answer the second half of your question, no, we are not as developed right now to counter, these issues right now, but we are getting there. There are
So,
legal ways to do that. There are platform centric ways to do that. So yes, not completely there, but yes, we are getting there.
I'll add that's a good reference point that you have given, Pep. Yes, a lot of transition has happened globally and within our country also. The transition has happened from the studio ecosystem to a platform ecosystem. What is even more baffling now is uh, the transition has happened. It's not realistically stopped at a platform. It has moved to that, and it's a new term that is being thrown around very frequently. That it is a creator's economy. It's not a studio. It's not a platform anymore. And there are umpteen examples that are going around. You look at Mr. Beast, who's an individual creator. He has scaled up to such length and breadth that he has his own team of some 60, 70 odd people, as opposed to when studios used to have thousands of people. But they're creating things, they're making things more relatable. And as he was also saying, there are certain things that are coming in vis-a-vis the OTT space, the different kind of cultures that are being brought into. Now, the beauty of that is there is you are not you're not for lack of choices. There are so many things. Something which a Pep would like, something what a Sujoy would like. There is option. There is content, and everything is accessible just at the drop of a button. It's far and wide. To the first point, the problem comes with the second thing, because it is so easily accessible. The challenges to manage, monitor, control the abuse thereof, and by abuse I'm saying any kind of unauthorized utilization, infringements, piracy. I mean, I can go on. There are a bunch of people on the panel who will be able to add more to it. But it's becoming challenging. It's not something that we don't have enough things to be equipped for. We have enough laws. I still feel we don't need new laws. We just need interpretation of laws. But it's still going to be challenging, because by the time and the paradigm shift has come in so quickly. As I keep saying, the earlier people's palette was to watch a 3 hour or a 4 hour film, which transitioned to a YouTube with a 30 minutes kind of a content. Now with reels, and now even with shorts, it's 10 second or 15 second. So by the time you understand the technology, you find your ways and means around it. There is a new way of piracy that is happening. There's a new way of theft that is happening. So I think we'll have to keep gearing up as and when these changes come in, but we'll work around it. I think we've always evolved.
Right. So, to put my perspective into it, I kind of liked a point which he said in our previous conversation, where the content now, because of globalization and OTT coming into the picture, everything is available very easily. You have more reference points. Now, why I bring that up is because the question that you've put to us, Amir, and it's interesting, is that how are we right now because of the OTT emergence that has happened over the last few years? I mean, it's only very recent that since the pandemic, the OTT era has really taken off in that sense. And right now, what Pep said is, I mean, we do have the laws, we're not there yet. I mean, it's only recently that we got the intermediary guidelines. It is only recently that we got the Digital Protection Act into place. Our laws are not entirely developed, and there's so much more to do. I mean, to give you an example, when the Amazon Tandav issue happened with regard to the web series, that's really when we found out that because the OTT space does not have a content certification as such body, like how films have in CBFC. So lawyers, be it in-house counsels, external counsels, we really had to pep up, including with the writers as well, because you realize that, okay, there's not really a mechanism or body in place. So you have to internally make sure that, be it IP, be it any dialogue, be it the story, be it the content, all of it has to be in compliance with laws. It's not just anymore IPR, but there's so many more facets to it. I mean, to give you an example, who knew that the film Sher Shah, you would have an issue with regard to a car's license plate, where someone would come up and file a police complaint just because they happen to see it on Amazon Prime one fine day, and they feel that the number plate which was used for the car which showed a terrorist sitting in it, you are showing the same license plate number which is of my car. and he goes and files a police complaint saying that, Arey, you're showing me as a terrorist. Basically, that car is mine. So it's not just IP anymore. We have to be so much more aware about everything. Before the content even goes over to the platform, there's so much of pre-production related work which involves legal and everything. And if you even if you take that aside, once the content, be it your web series, movie, or whatever it is, once it comes on the OTT platform, the next problem is, because the intermediary guideline says that the grievance officer has to take care of issues and having to address it, there are upteen number of issues that keep on coming. And the intermediary guidelines right now, in its current state, they only say that you have to address issues, but what are the consequences of it, or what are the offenses under that act? That has never been laid out. So we're still in that very early stage, as Pep said, before we get our, the proper laws in place. But we're on that track, certainly given the kind of laws that are there. And yes, what Kenneth said was perfectly true. I mean, we need a robust interpretation of what our acts are right now, because that will translate over to the practical and the business side of things, because that's how the platforms and the production companies, they are going to be adopting it into their practices ultimately.
I also felt that when we went from cable TV and we transitioned from cable TV or digital cable to OTT, there was a lot more freedom that got attached to it. And a lot of this freedom was often misconstrued at many levels. Freedom of expression was misconstrued. Freedom of, like, have you cited, Sujoy, how did you cite the example of Tandav? There were lots of things that were misconstrued. Even culturally, there are lots of things being misconstrued. So, yes, the laws had to tweak, but they had to tweak from the very crux. Now, how do you tweak freedom of expression? That is such a basic law, and this is an open space because internet never had laws per se. So suddenly when you're transitioning, how do you put laws?
Very, very true. I think जो global perspective that OTT has brought, now the audience is anything that you're writing or creating is competing with everything around the globe, and at the same time, the rules might apply differently for content that is created in say US and content that is created in India, but it's now available. Anything that I write in Bombay is also streaming somewhere in Mexico. It can trend there. So, and the rules are very different. I was watching a movie, Triangle of Sadness. They take names of brands like H&M and Balenciaga, and they're able to make comments about it. Whereas if we write something and we mention a brand and then there are Suja is smiling. He knows because there's some content that I'd written and we'd also sought his help for it. So these kind of like how things are interpreted globally is also one of the perspectives that OTT has brought into picture.
Wow. So, are existing enforcement mechanisms like takedown, fines, litigation, or any other strategy sufficient to deter piracy?
Well,
Okay.
okay. Can I
Go for
take
it.
that one? Let me just say this. I think all of us on this panel discussion at some point in time, and I say this not as an admission of any sorts, but I'm sure at some point in time, we've all tried to take films from torrents or in the early days, try to see them ourselves. Piracy has been there. Yes, it is a menace in the industry. And right now, with the things are, piracy is not going anywhere. I mean, there's continuous forms. I mean, if it was torrents earlier, now it's Telegram. If it's not going to be Telegram, tomorrow it's going to be. And there was always, of course, capturing the content on the theaters and everything. So there really isn't right now in our country, with the way how the laws are, with the way how the mechanisms have been placed and everything. It's not as there yet that we would want in order to stop piracy. But having said that, there are, of course, ways around it. To give you a very basic example, OTT platforms Nowadays, they have enabled the mechanisms in place that you can't do screen recording or you can't take screenshots. Basic things like that, watermarking your content, and all of those ways. That goes a long way in ensuring that there is some form of a protection, because right now the laws are as such that till the time we are not proactive, and when I say we, the owner of the content or the platform or the production company, they are not proactive in going to a court and taking an injunction, there's not really much to that effect. I mean, at max, if I take a legal jargon and I add it, the best example that I could have seen was probably what Viacom 18 did. They got a superlative injunction order from Delhi High Court some time back, and what that means is, unlike all the other injunction orders that used to come real time basis and everything, you really had to explain to the court with update after the order had come, basically saying that, look, this is a new infringement, this has happened, this is a piracy, this is happening. I shouldn't be made to run to the court, ask for a hearing, do an expend on getting a lawyer or a senior counsel or whatsoever, and then going through that entire process. Now, with the superlative injunction coming into place, one injunction is enough. And every time, within a period of time, once you identify the link, you don't even have to go anymore to the registry and update it, unlike what was the earlier process. That injunction, superlative injunction, operates in such a way that you can immediately just update the registry, whether it be Mighty or whosoever, provide them the copy of the order and get those links down. Try and have them injuncted through on the basis of those orders. And to the other small parts of it, I mean, with the takedown mechanisms and everything, like how YouTube has, yes, they are there, but they have their own challenges itself, because it's not a human being at the other end. It's primarily being catered to and being taken down through softwares, as I'm given to understand, through the takedown mechanisms itself. So yes, there are challenges to that effect in that sense.
I agree with what you're saying today. I have a slightly different angle to address this. I'm not getting into the injunction mechanisms, the John Does, the anti-piracy actions, the superlatives. No, I still think the way to really get around it is twofold. One is obviously a very academic thought process, but really important in terms of educating people as to what are the downsides and the effects of such piracy actions that really end up on the creators. The entire economy, the entire system goes in for a toss. People will not be able to churn out more content because they're suffering losses. The films just completely go in for a loss, and there is nothing, no recovery. So then people won't be able to come and cater to you more. That's one part of it. And the other is again more internal thought process that the platforms, that the the broadcasters need to really look at. Because if I have to go back a little, the example that you're giving in terms of all your piracy and torrents that used to happen back in the day, because we did not have access to high speed internet, we did not have the inclination to pay for so much of music and other things to consume music, for example. The reason why piracy, in fact, the entire piracy websites that came into existence for music was exactly this, because the music industry was just trying to make so much of money at the expense of the audience that people just wanted to shun it out and find piracy as a viable medium. That's how it came in. I'm not saying that piracy is the right way to do it, but because it happened, there has to be another midway of sorts that needs to be picked up. Even today, the way the industry is going on music wise, people are not willing as much and as such to pay for the subscription models, and they're still finding it easier to do side loadings, downloadings of music and other content. All of this piracy is again on the rise, because at the end of the day, people are looking at it, how many subscriptions can I actually pick up, whether it is music. There are six of us on the panel. If you actually start counting the amount of subscriptions that you have, you'll realize that it is far and far more than what we used to have when we just had one cable or a DTH box at home. I'm not counting in music. So somewhere it has to rationalize. It could be from the industry. It could be from the government. It has to rationalize. It's not something that everybody is trying to just make one quick buck today. It has to be thought from a long term. That's the education point that I'm saying. Audiences as well as the creators both.
Completely agree on this point. I think with the somewhere the payer or the customer is not seeing that much value in the in it, and they're not willing to pay at the core of it. Also because with user generated content, there is now so much. And when AI also comes into the picture, there is now so much sea of content that's almost become a
Yeah,
commodity. So to pay for something, to see that value in it, probably would have to new business models will have to be figured out
absolutely.
to create money around it. So.
Absolutely,
Okay,
and that would develop as the technology develops. So I'm
Yes,
sorry, here I'll quickly add to what
sure.
Sujay was saying earlier. So Amir, what we are discussing right now is once the content is ingested, it's showcased onto the platform, and then we figure out whether we own the rights to it or whether someone, whether there's piracy happening around that content. There is a very interesting case I will mention to you right now. Let's go a step back. Let's go a step back to pre-ingesting of the content when the deal is being signed, and when we are trying to acquire the content files from the original IP owner of the content. Now let's assume that we have acquired the content from a certain Mr. X, and we make a press release saying that, let's take an example of Sholay, that now Sholay is going to be released on so and so platform. What usually happens is we get many strikes or many notices from different agencies or content owners saying, hey, you know what? We own the rights to this content. How are you showcasing that? So then we have to, literally show our legal document to them saying that this is the legal document we signed with so and so. So please get in touch with them. And what usually happens is, or what the problem is right here is that I have noticed during my broadcasting thing that producers have been giving rights to different agencies saying that you hold it exclusively, you sell it to whoever you want, but get me the revenue. So this is one type of issue that I have noticed that happens. If I can integrate the previous question into this, it's quite interesting.
Yeah, this is
absolutely.
exactly what I wanted to cite there. But I also personally feel with OTTs like Spotify, and at least because OTT was rampant, at least while I was in college, it was rampant in the music industry. It started from what I could see, it was a lot over there where we were downloading from torrent and songs.pk and things like that. So
Napster.
with Spotify and with let's say Apple Music or any other OTT platforms that are coming in, what they did was they played it smart. They made the music available. I don't remember anyone paying, like, I didn't pay for Spotify when I signed up for Spotify. So now at least there's a big bulk of the crowd that has stopped, looking at these old pirated content. They're straight listening to it from an authenticated source. That's your song speaker, sorry, or Spotify or any other OTT for that matter. So I feel this, um, let me put it this way. I may be sounding very terrible when I say it. If it were not for piracy, we wouldn't have taken the steps to create a stronger system, at least to curtail it to some extent, if not completely. Um, this is at least my point on piracy. I'm glad it's there to some extent. All of you will kill me for it, but it's okay.
Okay. Thank you for leading me to my next question about pricing. How can OTT platforms balance accessibility and affordability to reduce piracy incentives?
Mhm. Uh, I think I addressed it of sorts in the previous question itself. Uh, Accessibility is a question, but that also comes with the technological challenges that are there, and hence you have now the geofencing that all these platforms are doing to limit the piracy part. But in terms of everybody having the ability, and the freemium models are now being brought in by a lot of platforms, that you start, you consume some content, if you like it then you stick around, or you watch certain bit of content purely on free and something is behind paywall. Those combinations are there, but I think it will have to be further refined, considering a large chunk of user-generated content is available for people to consume on YouTube for free. They don't need even a sign up for that matter.
I feel it should be localized and very
Those
targeted, extremely targeted.
kind of challenges I think will be there, but that's where the use case or the business case that they're looking at, it will be changed. Sure.
So to add to what to Amir's query, I think localized pricing is one solution to it. Then
Yeah.
ad supported content, or AWOD content, is what can also be one of the solutions to that. If somebody does not or cannot afford to subscribe to a content piece or a platform, and low bandwidth experiences, offline downloads, stuff like that can add to this.
I would like to add something even more basic. I think going to a theater lately has become so expensive. I think, and when they've cut down the price and they've made it so available on the OTT, there are lots of people out there who really just prefer paying for that much. Like they have the pay on the go content and they pay for that much for that duration and they watch the content and that's what is done with. I think that model is also quite an effective model because it turns out way cheaper. You have the entire set of family and friends watching, let's say, a relatively new movie in like 200 or 300 rupees. Expensive for many, very reasonable for a good number as well.
Yeah, I do agree with that one. I mean, the best example was Sitare Zameen Par, where they directly took the film and put it up on YouTube. So things like that, and just like how what Pep and Kinath have said, pricing is of course a structure. In that sense, that has to be considered. It's all about reeling in the customers first. So whether it is the AWOD content or whether it's going to be a free 14-day trial with unrestricted access, and then thereafter giving those basic subscription models. You can have an ad related plan or perhaps a entirely ad free plan, and of course keeping those pricings also at a localized level. What I mean is at an Indian level, because you need to consider the customers that you are catering to. It's practically the reason why in the very beginning of the OTT stages, why actually Amazon was able to overtake Netflix so easily, because Netflix came with the global mindset of subscription models, which weren't really fitting to the Indian mindset in that sense. So, yes, pricing plays a very, very critical factor, and how you pitch your subscription models, of course, to the customers, because that's ultimately what's going to decide whether you retain those customers or not.
In fact,
Very
I
true.
have an additional sorry, Shubham, one sec. In fact, I have an additional thought on this. I mean, this is the way the transition right now is happening from a purely subscription only to an AWOD or a freemium model that the platforms have moved on to. We're trying to sort of mimic what happened with the satellite and the cable era in the initial pieces. And after all of those fragmented approach, everything got clustered by way of your aggregators, the DTH platforms come in. You don't have to go and buy separate individual channel packs of sorts. You just go and get a Tata Sky or an Airtel or something. If that kind of an aggregator model somehow is able to facilitate an arrangement going forward, I think that will be more economically beneficial for the users in the go.
Very true. I think on the like the not just the platforms pricing it, but from the creator and production perspective also, can be like the production costs can be more smartly done and that way, so that the or like when the content is being created in you integrate brands therein itself, so that the cost is recovered and the much of the load is not on the audience. That is also a direction where things are moving now, with technology being cheaper and like being able making content is becoming easier generally, but for the industry, quote unquote, they have to reduce production costs somewhere, because it's also very inflated during the OTT boom era when they came in.
Wow. So, what lessons can India learn from Hollywood, Korea, or Europe in protecting digital content?
Most of the points were mentioned by Sujoy, I guess. Watermarking
Yeah.
is one of them. Then, placing the content under something in tech balance is called, which is called DRM, is one of the solutions. DRM is basically not allowing any viewer to download the content illegally. So that's what that TechBit does for the content piece and for that platform. So these are some of the solutions that tried and tested solutions that are being applied in the industry today.
Having adapted and implemented across, right?
Yeah. I think practically speaking, it might be a bit of an aggressive thought. But right now, with the way how technology is, there's not really anything that India has to learn from Hollywood, Europe, or Korea, or anyone. They're all facing the same problems we are. We're all in the same boat in that sense. It's not like a Korean piracy is different from Indian piracy. Piracy is piracy. So
Yes.
we have all the right now with the way how the technology is and the laws are, everyone is grappling to it according to their situation. And I'm sure as and when more policies are being framed and more laws come into effect, and perhaps more situations when they're dealt with, we will be seeing more solutions yet to come up. But for now, what the mechanisms are, they are being used and exploited to the fullest at this point in time.
I guess in terms of cross-border content, when, for example, like uh, Squid Games being shown in India on a pirate platform in India, how can Netflix Korea safeguard their interests, as an example? So in that case, an alliance, or if alliances can be formed where or third party mechanisms can be brought into place where these things can be identified and eliminated at the grassroots level, that could also provide one, like a solution for that issue. I guess that's what your question was exactly, Amit.
I
I guess
personally
from
feel,
sorry.
sorry, I personally feel we need stronger laws both nationally and internationally to ensure that the there is some way of combating piracy. And we have to work together. You can't say, "Oh, this is my enemy nation. I can't work with them." So definitely we
No,
need to work as a collaborative unit, because now you have Pakistani content also being aired. So you have content from everywhere being aired. And who's going to stop? It's interesting anyway. So we have viewers are watching. So what do you really do? You have to work internationally. You can't say you're my enemy. I can't do this for you.
exactly. And it becomes a little weird and awkward also sometimes coordinating with Pakistani entities, in terms of what you're going to say to them or how would you would react.
Yeah.
It's good. Yes, I have done that earlier, and I know how it feels. I will add to what Sujay is saying. So, in terms of dynamics, global dynamics of the US and UK, if you take them as a certain section, and Brazil, China, and India as one market, the dynamics are very different and very difficult to
I
control
agree.
when it comes to piracy. So, in terms of frequency is one factor that we in India have to face in terms of piracy. Or there are so many regions just in like theaters, like Kinat mentioned, in theatrical screenings. It's we have 13 to 14 different territories itself in India, so it's really difficult to control
Yeah,
piracy.
so the national part is already a menace. I mean, while we are talking about cross border, it's a great conversation to have. But when we do theatrical releases within India, it takes us forever to just catch hold of the pirates. And I'm still dealing with films that I have released some 4 years back, and still trying to trace down people and get some actions done on it. So the mechanism, the way, and the space with which the way we are able to enforce and execute and find these pirates is very very cumbersome. That's how things are. If we add cross border into the mix, nobody is bothered because they know that they're just going to have to deal with a whole different level of hierarchy, bureaucracy, and everything in between. So I understand people will have that challenge, but and we'll I think we'll continue living with piracy in some form or other.
Yes, Shubhamji. Yeah, any thoughts?
I think thoda counterintuitive from a creator perspective. I'd not want a lot of like I would want my creation to reach the maximum number of people it could reach, and uh, I mean it's more of a business perspective problem, and
Yeah.
maybe the solution is not in because we've been trying to do that at least for last 20 years, trying to curb down piracy. So maybe the solution is somewhere else. I think
Wow. So, is legal system in India and international equipped to handle uh, ye, piracy which has been created through AI and other mediums?
Not
I
exactly.
don't, I don't think so.
Hmm.
Anywhere that is the case, everybody is struggling and trying to make sense of it.
Yeah.
Multiple courts across different jurisdictions are trying to make sense of it. How to give protection to AI created content. I mean, moving to piracy is the second leg. But till the time we just don't find handle to it, how do we want to treat AI as a tool or as a hard shown enemy? We don't know. So till the time that is not sorted, piracy will keep happening. It is happening. It will keep happening. We'll probably keep taking down one pirated infringing content made on AI. We'll get that taken down, and then 10 more will come in. It's like a hydra. It just keeps coming in. I don't think anybody is prepared. We're just dealing with it one portion at a time.
Beautiful said, Kenneth.
Yeah, because it's not just AI that's I wouldn't call it a menace, but it's a tool that has the person using it at the other end. That's what's kind of turned it into a menace, is not just in media. I think every single field is dealing with it. I mean, right from education to probably lawyers, media, courts, whatever you want to call it. And yeah, I mean, the point that Kanath brings out is until and unless we don't start identifying
Yeah.
the sources with regard to AI and probably the way how it's developing, the first categorizations need to be done. We don't even have right now a effective regulation or an act that basically deals with AI. At best, right now, the way how we are currently interpreting and treating AI is from the lens of our Copyright Act, which, mind you, is an act which was developed in 1957. It
57.
didn't even contemplate what AI was.
Yeah.
So, with the way how it's coming about, and it's only right now that our government bodies, because of all these personality right related matters that have started to come up, there's something very always common about them. It's like the actors or the actresses' faces and their videos have been superimposed on those AI deepfake videos and everything. And now suddenly Mighty has gotten up and they're like, okay, give us the recommendations that can come about, what can be done. But we're still at a very early stage. We have, and as a lawyer probably not right to say it, but we don't have a solution at this point in time right now. We can only implement a few safeguards in those places. At best, what can be done, source identifiers or probably checkers in place to identify what is a real content, what is an AI generated content. Is the AI developing a content by taking inspiration and sources from 10 other works? Are there disclosures in place? Because that's data scraping, right? And you're not taking any permissions for it. So there's so many things going on with AI at this point in time. We're honestly not yet ready or equipped with in terms of procedures or laws or even practical market practices right now in place to curb those AI menaces at this point in time. But having said that, it is a very interesting time with AI also in place because you get to see creativity
Yes,
expand because of that AI.
very true.
I personally think, if horrible to say this again, but it is because of piracy we are now looking at ways of coming up with stringent laws. If it were not for piracy, none of us would have looked in this direction. And this is something we can't overlook. It's like saying, yes, corruption is definitely unhealthy, piracy is definitely unhealthy, but these are the factors that make and break a nation. These are the factors that actually help you build on a robust legal system. So we do not know about AI, point taken, Sujoy. But I think it's given us the impetus to dive deep into understanding the nuances. It's given us the impetus to dive deep into understanding the piracy's, the hacker's mind, and that's how we can work backwards. I, I think, I don't know if I'm right or wrong. You guys are lawyers, so you all need to give this opinion here.
So I was reading something. There's a quote. The हिंदी में proverb वो कहते हैं कि लोहा ही लोहे को काटता है.
Yeah.
So when there is a lot of content that is getting created with AI and we are struggling with laws, maybe, and I've been reading about it also, how the application of AI on the legal front, so AI is able to generate a lot of flab content also,
Yeah.
like it sounds good and everything, but at the core of it there's not much. And maybe in a lot of paperwork as a society, we have also come to a point where there's a lot of flab in the paperwork that we are dealing with. So maybe if AI is creating the problem, somewhere in the solution, even on the legal side, somewhere AI as technology can help us cut
Yeah,
down and
that's true.
Wow.
Uh, I'd,
Seems likely.
I'd like to add to that. And in support of Shubham and Heer, it's not that AI is completely, barred of creativity. Yes, there is an element of creativity involved, where there is another section of AI with AI tools. I wouldn't like to name them to promote them, but there are AI tools where you need to
Yeah.
use your creativity to create those kind of images, or that kind of background scores, that kind of music, generate those types of lyrics. You need some element of creativity. Yes, I agree with Sujoy that there is some part of data scraping that happens, or where this AI generates through data found on the internet, or however it does it. But in support of Shubham and what he is saying, that yes, AI in terms of content creating does require some creativity. I mean,
Till the time, you're right, Pep. Till the time it is used as a tool, till the
Hmm.
time it
absolutely,
is that. Yeah.
that's what
I
I
mean,
meant.
right now, because we don't know the length or breadth of it as to who's using
Yes.
it and how.
That's what I meant in terms of a
Yeah.
tool, what genres we pick up, what formats we pick up. So if micro dramas is, in one of them that is trending right now.
Yeah.
So yes, it does require, even prompting requires some.
Yeah, that's
Absolutely.
why we have AI prompt engineers now. It's such a great field. I think creators will
Wow.
also need to get into prompting as one of their instructions.
Yeah, I'm coming to that question only. What's the hidden cost to creators and smaller studios when their content is pirated?
According to me, it would be a loss of around at an average 40% of the total cost of production plus promoting of the content. Other than that, there are different ways of monetizing or acquiring revenue for that content, for that piece of content. Uh, Data piracy can never be curbed, but in a way it can be controlled. So to answer your question, yes, there is a big hit to content creators, and especially broadcasters and platform owners who own that piece of content.
Yeah, I can add to that point. I mean, there have been a couple of instances where piracy has resulted in the entire uh, content being of no value as such. There was a
Hmm.
Balaji film. I think I don't remember which version of it was it. It was a Masti. I don't know. It was Grand Masti or Great Grand Masti. The entire thing got just leaked out before release. Did not earn any monies because it was, I mean, it was available for everybody on your Telegram and other sources. There was a leak of a few episodes or an entire season of Game of Thrones that happened before the actual release. The broadcaster had to take a huge hit because of loss of revenues as well as indemnity obligations that they had from the creators. It becomes a big mess that way when piracy ends up hitting. While in an individual smaller creator, you may be able to say, okay, there is a bit of a production cost, there is a bit of a notional revenue loss because you know this is the kind of creator and this much he makes. but it has already impacted bigger production houses where 100 crore film is mounted, hoping that it's going to make a 300 crores budget and then everything will come in. But once it gets pirated, nothing remains. So there is always a hit.
I mean, from my perspective, from a litigator's perspective, if I can bring it, one of the hidden costs is all valid points, of course, what Pep and Kennard stated, and this is once piracy has taken place. A hidden cost that can probably also production companies or content creators they face is even before the film has gotten released. You are seeing a trend now where either the production company or the distributor who has the rights, they go and obtain, they have to incur legal costs, is what I mean. They have to go and obtain injunction orders, John Doe orders. And by saying that, look, this film has such and such actor, it has such and such market value. If it happens to be of a franchise, then all the more it says that there is a huge garnered public interest into it. And I need this piracy to not take place, which has happened to have taken place in the past and everything. That is obviously not cheap. You are going to expend money by going to court, engaging lawyers. So that's a hidden cost also that you're going to be facing because you expect piracy to happen.
Yeah, I've seen both sides of this. Like when you start promoting something, the trailers and teasers come out, and somebody comes saying that this is very similar to something that an IP that I was creating and or I'd had narrated to the actor, etc. And then the producer has to bear the cost of because to get it released, they have to prove that it's a original work, etc. And on the other side, I've also seen that there is something that I've written and I'd pitched to a platform, and then you see that there's something coming out which is very much on the lines of what you don't know, you've not seen the content as such, so you can't say if it's exactly plagiarized or so you don't know. But at the same time, you want to that it's not something that's been taken off from it's stolen from you, something like that. So maybe it's become so cumbersome, these things. There should be some way to expedite the process of being able to find out cases of where something has been uh, stolen from some inside.
I guess the Peace Palace has done this to an extent in terms of curbing piracy and the advent of AI into content piracy. So the international courts have done exactly what Shubham has mentioned right now, and to an extent they are trying to find solutions and if not a generic solution, if it's US based or MENA country based, so they are finding solutions to this. And yes, piracy controlling is a very vague term right now, and we from our individual experiences are giving the audience who are viewing this podcast right now our say into it. But this what we are saying, I would like to tell the audience this, but what we are saying is very generic, and it can be deep dive into. That is another conversation that I will have with Amit later.
Here.
Segue to a sequel already.
Absolutely.
You want to add anything here?
No, I think I'm good.
Okay. This is for the lawyers, but you all can also add. Are co-production treaties and international collaborations strengthening or complicating IP enforcement?
I
I think it is definitely strengthening. It comes at two folds. One is because of these co-production treaties, the cost of production in a particular member nation going to a different location and spending less and getting your incentives and rebates adds up to creating a better product at lesser value. Number one. And two, because there is a correlation, and if a piracy happens in one nation versus the other, at least you can have that kind of support. So it's definitely a welcome thing.
yes, completely with that thought because like what Kedat said, probably a content which is might be Indian in nature but being shot abroad. It's not just IP, but there's also tax rebates volumes that gets added up to it. And IP, of course, if something were to happen, probably some leaks or probably some angle was to take place in a foreign country, because you have those mechanisms in place and probably a team in place as well, legal team in place. It makes it all the more easier to deal with the local laws and regulations over there, which probably a lawyer from that territory or probably a legal team from the other side would be much more well versed and guarded with to deal with. So these kind of collaborations from a legal point of view are always welcome. They strengthen it all the more in that case.
Wow.
Absolutely, that's right, Sujay. And to add to what Kirat said, Amir, uh, before somebody gets into a deal, the cards are on the table. So it's up to that person whether they want to, you know, jump into it or not. So it's as simple as that. And it's for now, it's a very traditional way and traditional way of processing how we get into international collaboration. So according to me, there is no issue as such. The issue happens after the content is created, is what we are discussing and gathered here for.
Mm. Any input from Shubham or here? Or continue? Okay. Now, this is for everyone. How can the audience be sensitized about the value of originality in art and media?
I think Kenath answered this already through sensitization programs. I mean, that is ultimately the best way to go for it. I mean, you can put it through clips, you can probably put it right before the episode airs. I mean, you have that's the only way to let the public know that we require your support. And it's only the audiences ultimately through an active interest, letting them know what are the laws. If they deal in piracy or if they record something, it's a hit to the team that's actually making it. And when you spread that message across, it's that's how it's ultimately going to be done.
So while Sujay, that is to an extent is already being done by virtue of your multiple disclaimers, your audio notes on content in theaters or OTT platforms. I personally think it's time, and I'm taking it in the perspective that the audience is very smart. Let's just I think it's high time that we stop thinking that we need to tell what the audience wants to watch and we need to tell audience this and that. I think they're very smart. They understand largely in terms of how the businesses function and everything. So instead of going this way and coming at the nth minute for a specific piece of content, my suggestion is, like, we have a lot of things being taught to students, children in schools in terms of uh, a creator's rights protection, piracy having a
Hmm.
impact on a certain bit of society sector. Those are things, I mean, could be determined on what level of students should be taught to, but I think somewhere it has to be taught from the ground up at the time of schooling so that they understand and appreciate. Because a lot of these children, even young ones, are the content creators, so to speak, today. A lot of them are just directly picking up the phone and shooting things left, right, and center. So if they understand what they are dealing with, I think the level of responsibility would grow from there. That's my personal thought.
Wow.
I personally think all of them, they said the right thing. The education is the crux of it all. But rather than just educating, at like just putting a disclaimer, I think what we really need to do is get them to engage and understand the nuances of piracy rather
Right.
than just put it as a small disclaimer out there. That would make a bigger difference because how else would they know? Yes, they do have access, they are smart, but how else would they know what what is the legal backing that is involved?
Wow.
I think if we are able to reward legal consumption in some way, it would also help. Like on Netflix, there was Black Mirror had one episode called Bandersnatch where the technology or the platform was such that you are making the choice with the character whether he should do this or do that. Now you cannot create this in a pirated format of this. So if there is certain reward or some experience or value in the legal consumption that you won't get in consuming it other way, it would automatically make the audience, it would nudge the audience towards legal consumption.
So,
I have noticed one thing. I have noticed countries where the ARPU is really low for content platforms or platforms in general. The piracy is really high over there. And again, like Kirat and Sujay, Shubham rightly say, it depends on the sensitivity of that the consumer or the viewer who's consuming that audience, how much he's feeling for what he is watching, or has he thought about how this piece of content has been created, what is the type of hard work that goes into that, uh, and it's very case to case centric. So somebody, a group of friends, sitting together. Uh, Trying to watch a pirated content piece would have a different feel about or understanding of what they are consuming compared to somebody sitting and watching it on a connected TV in a developed nation. It's very complicated right now.
wow. So, last question for this interesting panel discussion. Looking ahead, what innovations or legal reforms could redefine the battle for originals in the next decade?
Think the innovations in legal forms, I mean, a couple of we've in bits and pieces, I think everyone has kind of given the answer to that. I mean, Shubham, for example, when he had said that, maybe we need AI to counter AI. Interesting and a good solution. I mean, maybe that is something what we will need. Legal reforms, we will need new developed laws because clearly the old ones aren't exactly there yet. So, in that sense, we're probably going to see a much more developed, nuanced understanding of what AI is and probably use it in our practices as well. And as and when new scenarios come up, you're also going to be seeing very interesting judgments come into place because they will essentially make things easier for the legal teams that are there that have to deal with issues, be it with the piracy on those fronts. So, I mean, as of right now, those would be the innovations to look forward to in the area. And of course, the basics are also there. I mean, a couple of things innovation wise, if we're speaking, and this is for the creators, when they use AI as part of their creations. Like, for example, if I was to say Shubham faced a creator's block tomorrow while writing something and he takes the help of AI, a very interesting scenario will come up for the ones who make the agreements is that how much of AI's credit is to be there, or is there supposed to be a licensing fee that needs to go to an AI association or a body? Those might be a very interesting questions that come up tomorrow with the development of a core centralized AI system in place. So interesting times.
Absolutely. Also, there is a tech-based solution also that Google and Apple especially are working on right now. It is more leading towards a device-centric projection or streaming
Yeah.
rather than a cloud-based projection or streaming. So what happens that way is a certain device or a certain user can be monitored in terms of what that user or device is consuming. So that is one of the solutions that tech is working towards.
Wow.
I look at it very simply, the kind of transitions that the media industry has had. We've had films running down in theaters and this kind of piracy not being an issue when we've had films from, say, 1950s till all the way early 2000s. The transition from a film to a TV show to a smaller content was after some gaps. The film segment ruled for 50 years. The theatrical run then moved. The TV shows then came in the OTT piece. But then the transition is happening very very quickly. So I'm just trying to question. The question may not be a valid one. You're talking about a whole decade. Right now, we are all dealing with the piracy that is happening on creators who are creating 5 minuters, 10 minuters, and 30-second videos. You don't know what kind of content is going to come up in the next 6 months to a 2 year window. So,
Hmm.
but we'll have to. I mean, that's the soft side of it. Yes, we have to deal with what technology changes are going to come in, whether it is AI or something else comes in. how globally we are looking at it is something that will have to be aligned on. Right now, all eyes on the multiple judgments going on and the interpretations going on in the courts on AI. That I think is going to be
Hmm.
changing the way a lot of us interpret things. Rest, let's see. We'll have another session for that, perhaps.
Yes.
Now who's making a sequel?
I have to plug myself in.
Yes, Shubham.
No, I think very well said. Things are changing very, very rapidly. I was speaking to someone the other day, and they mentioned that not a time is far when somebody comes home, turns on their TV, tells the remote that create a story like this where I want to watch something like this happen, and AI creates that, and they watch it. Now, how the payouts for that happen, where does the AI source its stuff from? These are, you don't know how things will pan out tomorrow, and yeah, so we just have to observe how things are changing, what patterns are emerging, and take it from there.
So, he from your side, anything?
AI is like content. It's really evolving so fast. It's not funny. So be it AI or be it the whole OTT space has been evolving very fast. I Even as a writer, from a writer's perspective, I'd say that when I was in college, we had 3,000 word articles. By the time I came out of college, it became 1,500 words. Now that we are writing, we are not even writing articles, we are writing micro formatted pieces. So
Yeah.
definitely there is a huge change in
Yes.
and with AI coming in, it's going to get even more different in the OTT space. So definitely the change we have to just move faster with the change. That's the only thing. But we have to create a robust legal system around it.
Wow. So thank you to our panelists for such an engaging and insightful discussion. As Pep said, sequel तो बनता ही है, and Kenneth also concur. So invitation again to all for the sequel. What we have heard today is clear. The battle for originals is more than a legal or technological issue. It's a cultural and ethical one too. Protecting content means protecting creativity, livelihoods, and the very future of storytelling. As we log off today, let's remember that every stream, every subscription, and every choice we make as consumers fuels the ecosystem. In this digital age, originality deserves not just to be celebrated but fiercely protected. Until next time, keep creating, keep innovating, and keep the conversation going with a cup of coffee. Thank you, everyone, for
Thank
your
you.
time. And
Thank you.
2026, we look forward to more insightful and topics at the Coffee Conversation show. So, thank you.
Thank
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 you.
you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.